Welcome back, Sports Talk with the Sports Rabbi here on All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. As always, you can get in on the conversation, 856-330-4749, or send me a message at facebook.com/Sports Talk with the Sports Rabbi. Enough of baseball. I'm tired. I'm over this whole thing. Whatever. Let them just destroy each other as they were. Have fun. Go ahead. Right now, it really does sicken me what is going on with baseball, but I'll let everything kind of hash out for itself. But talking about, more here, something that's going on right now, what we can talk about. We have the NHL. We have the Kings are down 2-1 in the series, taking on, the Chicago Blackhawks in LA for Game 4 tonight. Jeff Carter, Duncan Keith. That's going to be very interesting to see how that all plays out for the rest of the series. But what has happened in the postseason for the Kings as well as for the Blackhawks, both of them have been down in the series, and they've come back. The Kings the Kings have been down 0-2 in the past. They were down to the Sharks. I mean, the Blackhawks were down 3-1 to the Red Wings, and yet here we are, Game 4 tonight. Los Angeles. It's for either the Blackhawks to take a commanding 3-1 lead, or for the Kings to tie it all up on the way back to Chicago. Now, what is going to happen in this game should be very interesting to watch, because you have Jonathan Quick has been playing very well the entire series, and it's just been his teammates who haven't been able to really find their scoring touch or find their knack for getting the pucks on the net on Antti Niemi, the goalie for the Chicago Blackhawks. But that said, Game 3 was very interesting to watch how the neutral zone play for the Kings was really taken to the next level. You have guys on Kings on the team, guys on the Los Angeles Kings like Anze Kopitar, and looks like we have a phone call again. If you want to get onto the program, don't forget, call us here at 856-330-4749. But it looks like we have a caller. Caller, welcome to the program. You're on with the Sports Rabbi here on Sports Talk with the Sports Rabbi. Who are you? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Rabbi, how you doing? This is Mo from New York.
Mo from New York. Welcome to the program. What's going on, Mo? What's on your mind?
I wanted to talk some Penguins-Bruins.
All right, Penguins-Bruins. Well, it's going to be a fun series. No matter where this ends up, we have the Bruins are still in the lead in the series. Game. What are we up to now? Game 4 coming up.
Game 4 coming up. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's definitely. What's happened the first couple of games with this series? I mean, you see Sidney Crosby is kind of going all baby-like in a sense where he can't get anything going his way. He's not really being able to inspire his teammates. What are your thoughts on the series?
He seems like he's all over the place, and maybe he's trying to do too much, but he can't really get a handle on himself during the play, and I see him faltering. But I think it might be because of the Bruins' size. The Bruins' size is just dominating this series so far.
Well, you mentioned two very key points there. Firstly, Crosby himself not being able to get a handle on himself. Well, he's got to get a handle on himself in order to be able to help his teammates or have his teammates help him. If he can't figure himself out, then his teammates certainly aren't going to be able to figure him out. Talking about the Bruins and their size, really the big thing, no pun intended, with the Bruins is that they have the largest guy in the league playing defense for them, and he's pretty bloody good at that, being Zdeno Chara. But also, even the smaller guys, well, I guess everybody's smaller on that team than him, but even, besides for Lucic and Krejci, but even the real physically not that dominating looking guys, Brad Marchand and those types of players, Patrice Bergeron, they are still able to be the pests in your backside. So I wouldn't only contribute Boston to having the lead in the series to their size, their physicality, but to the fact that they don't quit on a puck. They are constantly going after the puck wherever it is. Kind of like when you, I'm sure, played in grade school, you played, any sort of sport or, whatever it was with your class. Let's say it was soccer. Everybody would run and follow after the soccer ball. There wouldn't really be, okay, you're playing in the offensive zone, you're playing in the defensive zone. Everyone just kind of, 20 people after a soccer ball. That's the same.
Place, right?
The same mentality is with the Bruins. They have a puck. They see a puck. Everybody after the puck. Go.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they're chasing down pucks, and even Marchand, he's a huge pest, and he has been for a while now. But he'll pester you and try to draw that penalty. But then when the puck is going his way, he's chasing that puck down. He's really doing a good job this series.
Well, just look at what he did in the opening minute of Game 2, where he went after Crosby, and he forced Crosby into a bad pass, took it off of his stick, and skated down and put the goal past Thomas Vokoun for a 1-0 lead. It was like 32 seconds into the game. Right. So Marchand is known for have that penchant for getting there on that moment where he will get to the best of you. But that said, it also goes along to the rest of the team. Even though Tyler Seguin, for example, hasn't really gotten much going for himself this postseason, but he's still doing all that he can without being that often on the scoring sheet, whether actually scoring goals or assists, but he's still doing all that he can off the scoring sheet to help his team get better, to help his team maintain that ability to play where they can. And I think that also what has happened, what has helped for the Bruins is that in their series against Toronto, and they were down by 3 goals in Game 7, and they came back, and they tied, and then they eventually won in overtime. That helped propel them to this notion in their mind, to this belief in their mind, along the lines of what happened with Tim Tebow when he was in Denver with the Broncos, that we can win any game. We can win in any situation, whatever we are facing. And I've always said that belief in sports is almost as intangible as actually winning the game. Because if you believe that you could win no matter what situation you are facing, then you're golden.
Right. They're also a very deep team. I mean, you talk about beliefs, and it certainly helps when you have such a deep team like the Bruins do. Every line seems to be coming at you full force, and it's really difficult to defend against that, whereas the Penguins don't have such a deep defensive side, and when you have all that offense coming at you, they really struggle.
Yes.
Especially with their backup goalie, and Fleury is being, as he is usually in the playoffs, very inconsistent, whereas Tuukka Rask is really rising to the occasion. After coming in and taking over Thomas's role, he has really shown that he is a star and one of the many backbones of this Bruins team.
Well, what I think that Dan Bylsma, the coach for the Penguins, has a situation on his hands is, as you mentioned, with the goaltending issue that he's got between Vokoun, the veteran, and Fleury, also a veteran, but has had his fair share of problems in the postseason. That said, when you look at the scores of of some of the games that they've played in, against the Bruins, they haven't scored that much. It's the reason why they're down in this series. And the Bruins have obviously scored more. Just look at the first 2 games, they only managed 1 goal, and the Bruins had 9. When you look at what happened with the Penguins, and this is before they went out and got Brendan Morrow, and they got Jerome McGinley right before the trade deadline to add more firepower to their lineup. You look at last postseason, when they played against the Flyers and they lost games like 8-5. Granted that Fleury was giving up 8 goals, but you could almost guarantee that the Penguins were going to score 5. So they now go ahead and they add more firepower to it. I don't think it's so much that it's the depths of the offensive lines for the Penguins, or lack of the depth for that matter, versus the Bruins having all that much depth, because the Penguins have a couple of the best centers in the league and some of the best forwards in the league, not to mention 3 captains, for all intents and purposes, on the same team. So they have the veteran leadership, they have all those intangible qualities, but the issue, like you did mention, is their defense. Now, you have a guy like Chris Letang, who is a Norris Trophy candidate to win that title at the end of the season for being the best defenseman, and look at how he's playing in the postseason, not just against the Bruins, But against even the Islanders, he was just giving away pucks.
Very inconsistent, especially for Letang. He's supposed to be a great player.
And young.
He's extremely inconsistent in this series and last series. I don't know what's going on with him either.
Yeah, so when you have all that said, all put up together, it's definitely going to be a challenging for the Penguins to get to where they want to go, and it should be a very interesting remainder of the series. Mo, thanks for the call.
All right, take care, Rabbi.
All the best. That was Mo from Brooklyn. Again, you want to get in on the conversation, 856-330-4749, facebook.com/sports talk with the sports rabbi. I'm here till 9 p.m. It's going to be fun for the rest of the way. And like I was talking with Mo, you look at what's happened with these teams, specifically in the Eastern Conference, but also in the Western Conference. I mean, you have players. These are the teams that won the last 4 Stanley Cups. All the last 4 teams that are still standing. So we know that they're built for the postseason. They're built for years. They're built for a while, for everything that is to come. But that said, they have to perform now. When you look at what's happening with the Penguins, that's a big issue, because although they have all this offensive firepower, they're not able to get their act together in terms of defense. And what ends up happening is that if you can't defend against the opponent who just keep pestering you for to get the puck off from you, to get under your skin, if you can't get the best of that team, then that team is going to come and beat you, and beat you bad. And certainly that's the result of what happened the first 2 games, where the Bruins shut out the Penguins in the first game 3-0 and then destroyed them 6-1 in Pittsburgh. So they're going into Game 4 on Friday night. It certainly will remain to be seen, of course, how the series is going to end, however it will end, whether the Penguins will come back or the Bruins will fend them off and defeat them and propel themselves into the Stanley Cup final against whoever wins in Chicago or Los Angeles. And in that series, though, the game changer, as was shown in Game 3, going into Game 4 tonight, was the neutral play of the Kings. When you have Anze Kopitar, a guy who plays offense, when you have Justin Williams, a guy who also plays offense and has been on a torrid pace scoring goals thus far in the postseason, when you have guys like that along with Dustin Brown, the captain, who is taking the helm and saying, we have to play better in the neutral zone. That is where games are won and lost, as much as they are won and lost fighting for pucks in the corner after dumping them in, forechecking, backchecking, and all of that. Neutral zone play is very important, because if you protect your neutral zone and do not allow the puck to be entered into your zone, into your defensive zone, then guess what? It's very difficult for the opponent to score. No goals, you usually end up winning. So once that really took hold, once Darryl Sutter got that through his teams, through his players' collective mind, saying you have to defend your neutral zone better. Once that happened, I think that's when you're looking at it. You should be looking at a much different series going forward between Chicago and Los Angeles. I'm looking at this, and if LA can keep it up, playing their neutral zone. I mean, Jonathan Quick has been phenomenal. Okay, he had one game 2, where he had to be removed, but I think I really contribute that to the defense not playing well, the offense not playing well, just the whole team not playing well. There's only so much you can stop as a goaltender. If your team isn't protecting the puck, then the best of goaltenders, even Patrick Waugh, can only do so much. So you're going to have some bad games. That's granted. But you hope that if you're the LA Kings, that was the worst game that you were going to have all postseason. And with that said, you hope that now at Game 3 you're able to take from what you just showed that you can do, and you're able to draw on that and be able to perform in the postseason the rest of the way. Put that into action in Game 4 and Game 5, and hopefully it would only be Game 6, and and not really much farther than that, and win, and move on to the Stanley Cup Finals. Hope that the neutral zone play will propel you. You're listening to Sports Talk with the Sports Rabbi here on All Noise Radio, I'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Sports Talk with the Sports Rabbi here on All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. If you want to get in on the conversation, 856-330-4749, or send me a message at facebook.com/Sports Talk with the Sports Rabbi. We're talking NHL playoffs. It's exciting. It's always the time that you really want to watch the NHL, especially if you're just a casual fan. You want to get into the hockey world. You want to become part of what makes the playoffs so great. This is when you watch. And we've got two series, both the Eastern Conference Finals and the Western Conference Finals, both coming down to the final four teams, each of which have won the title, the Stanley Cup, over the last 4 years. This is what you can only write this up in the NHL. This is the only place where you can get something like this. Talking about Major League Baseball and the steroids. You know what? I'm done with talking with baseball and the steroids. I'm over. I'm just gonna let it kind of pan out the way it pans out, and that's it. I'll maybe revisit that in a couple weeks. And of course, the NBA Finals, Game 1 tonight. Tim Duncan versus LeBron James. What is very intriguing to listen to, or to watch for that matter, is how Tim Duncan, the great Tim Duncan, and I don't use that word often, but he is great, perhaps the best, but arguably the best power forward to ever play the position. What he's done for the San Antonio Spurs over the course of the 3 decades that he's touched the team, from when he came into the league, from when he got himself a Spurs uniform, is unmatched. Even the Admiral, even David Robinson, but he was a center, so you got to play it with that. What he's done for the team, the original 3, think about it like this: Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, and Tony Parker, the original Big 3, have been together longer than the so acclaimed Big 3, but now what we know as 1.0 in Boston, with Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, and Ray Allen, and the so-called Big 3 down in South Beach, what we'll call Big 3 2.0, with LeBron James, Chris Bosh, and Dwayne Wade. Do you realize that Tim Duncan and the other dynamic duo, being Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili, might still be around and might still outlast the other 2? Well, they certainly outlasted the one in Boston, because Ray Allen now is in Miami playing with the Heat now in the finals. But heck, they might even outlast Miami's Big 3, because it's going to be a big summer in the offseason next year, in 2014 next year, where the deal for LeBron, I mean, he has an opt-out clause, so he can book out of Miami if he feels that Dwayne Wade's knee is not going to hold up, or that Chris Bosh has just been an enigmatic, soft center who is limited to just jump shooting. Can't really play that good defense and is not good driving to the lane. So he might book out. And if that happens, then you can say, hey, Tim Duncan, who's not getting any younger, but certainly seems to have held age in check, so long as, even though they are aging, and they are considered the aging Spurs, the old small-town team, the Spurs who are old, and they are. There's no denying that. But he seemed to almost hold the team, hold the squad, as if they have stopped Father Time, have put him in pause, and said, oh, just hang on a minute. We have another couple seasons to play here together. If that happens, then that's just incredible, because who would have ever thought that the small market team would be the one to show success? I mean, you're talking about the Spurs going for their fifth NBA finals since Tim Duncan came to town. I mean, how many finals have the Heat gone to? 3. True. They've gone to 3 in 3 years, but LeBron has only been to 4 in his career, and you would expect that much more from LeBron. So this series really does kind of focus and show that there can be a transitioning between the old and the new guard. That After the 2007 series where the Cleveland Cavalier-led LeBron James were bested by the San Antonio Spurs and Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili and Tim Duncan, where Duncan found LeBron in the hallways of the arena and said to him, hey, the league will be yours one day. Keep your head up. And now the league, for all intents and purposes, is LeBron's league. I mean, we're just here to watch. He is a very, very good player. I'm not going to say great, because he hasn't proven to me great. He hasn't won 11 championships like Bill Russell, great. He hasn't even won 6 championships like Michael Jordan, great. Heck, he hasn't even won 5 championships like Kobe Bryant, great. He's been to 4 finals, but he's only won once. Winning 1 NBA Finals does not, by any stretch of the imagination, proclaim you as great. When you think of Peyton Manning, do you think of him as great? Yeah, he also has fantastic regular season records, but he also only won 1 Super Bowl. He only also won 1 championship. Like LeBron has to date only won 1 title. I cannot describe to you how much I hate when, and I know hate's a strong word, but how much I hate when everybody says, oh, LeBron's so great. He is not. He's a very good, very talented athlete, very smart, very good player, paying attention to detail. Has everything in his makeup to be great. Yes. But right now, today, he is not great. He'll make the Hall of Fame for the regular season's numbers today if he retired from the league. He'll make the Hall of Fame for all of that, but he certainly will not make the Hall of Fame if I was judging only on postseason play. I mean, there are plenty of other athletes out there who won only 1 title and are not in the Hall of Fame. Who are you kidding? I mean, in the Stanley Cup playoffs, in order for you to be on the Stanley Cup, you have your name etched on the Stanley Cup, you have to play 1 shift in the entire Stanley Cup final on the winning team. You have to be... So you could have won a Stanley Cup, have your name on Lord Stanley's chalice, and still not be in the Hockey Hall of Fame. And that is not absurd. It's not unheard of. I can totally see LeBron James, if we were judging solely based on postseason performance, not going to the Hall of Fame today, if that's what were to happen. But enough of that. LeBron James, a very good player, has 2 other players with him who, talking the big 3 2.0, I mean, Chris Bosh only scored 9 points again. Yeah, they're saying, oh, together with Dwayne Wade, they scored 30. That's because Wade had 21, broke a 12-game, less than 20-point streak, the longest of his career. I mean, this guy's been bugged by a bum knee the entire season. Whether or not he is 1 surgery away from being Dwayne Wade that we knew, and either we loved or we loved to hate in the middle 2000s, 2006 when they won the title against Dallas, or, whenever it was that he was lighting up the arena down in South Beach. He's only 6'4", but when you are 6'4" playing with reckless abandon, and when you're going after bigger guys, and you're going to be hacked, and you're going to be whacked, and you're going to find yourself on your back many, many times on the floor, and you keep playing, it will eventually take its toll. Or will he only be 1 surgery away from being the Dwayne Wade that we all know from years past? That, of course, remains to be seen in the offseason. Or will it just be this quick view into life of Wade on the decline? Will this be the first step towards Dwayne Wade's steady decline in performance in what he's able to do on the basketball court? Chris Bosh, forget. I mean, you can ship this guy out of town. He's done nothing for you. Soft centers like Arvydas Sabonis, when he played with Portland, was also considered soft because he never really drove to the basket. The best passing center all time. Gone, 100%. 7'3", had passing abilities like a point guard. But Arvydas Sabonis was soft because he didn't really stand tall in the paint. He didn't drive to the basket. He was more of a jump shooter. Chris Bosh, 7 foot, technically a center, although I think he should be put into as like a forward because he doesn't play like a center. He's not strong in the middle of the paint. He doesn't drive to the basket. He doesn't get you that many rebounds. He does not score that many points. He's a jump shooter trapped in a really tall man's body. So he is good to go. Jettison him out of Miami, get him the heck out of there, and bring in somebody who can actually play. I mean, Chris Anderson, what he's been doing off the bench, I'm not saying that he should be the starter, not saying that, but what he's done off the bench, you solidified a backup center. Certainly, because he can give you 20 minutes a night, pound it out with the best of them, give you that high intense, high level of energy. And he loves scoring in the paint. I mean, look at what he's done. He's got these off-the-chart numbers for the postseason thus far for scoring points. And most of the points, if not all of them, have come from inside the paint, have come from within 5 or 6 feet of the basket. So when you look at somebody like that, the Birdman, Chris Anderson, you have somebody there to be a backup, but you have to go out and get yourself a center because you do not have a center. I don't think you've had a legit center since Alonzo Mourning was on your team. And Alonzo Mourning wasn't that tall either when all things considered are for centers. So that's the first thing, order of business that the Heat have to take, figuring out what to do with Chris Bosh. Where do we put him on the court? And, of course, are we going to see the Dwayne Wade of Game 7 against the Pacers? Or are we going to see the Dwayne Wade of, pick any of the other games against the Pacers? What's going to be Dwayne Wade? I mean, we know LeBron can play. Everybody and their grandmother by now knows LeBron can play. My wife knows LeBron can play, and she doesn't even like basketball. But he's the type of guy who you hear of, you see him on TV, you see what happens, what he can do. Everybody knows he can play. So we're not worried about LeBron. The question is, will it be the big 1? Or will it be the big 2.5? That's really the question here. And what is interesting to note between these two teams is Spurs and the Heat, the way they've gone out and gotten their players. I mean, the Spurs have drafted, and they've drafted well. I remember when Emmanuel Ginobili came into the league. He was drafted with the Spurs and has stayed there ever since. Tony Parker, same thing, drafted, and has stayed with the Spurs ever since. The Heat have gone out and got the high-priced players. They kind of bought themselves a ring last year and have bought themselves a 3-time return to the finals the last 3 years with bringing in Bosh and bringing in LeBron James. And what they've done, what the Spurs have done, is similar to what the Heat have done. They've brought in enough role players to complement their stars. And that way, there's that constant rotating door with the role players. You can't perform for what we need you for, you're out, next one in. Now, with the Heat, more often than not, it's through free agency signings or trades. And with the Spurs, it's more through the draft. You can't play, okay, you're out, next one. Next draft. Bang, bang. Move on. But what I do love the contrast is the mentality that both teams take. How they approach the game. Now, what Eric Spoelstra for the Heat has done is similar to that of Greg Popovich, where he's taken that small mentality, pay attention to detail. It's all about the team. It's not about me. Have you ever seen Eric Spoelstra in a commercial? I know I haven't. I've seen Pat Riley in commercials. I haven't seen Eric Spoelstra in a commercial because Pat Riley is all about him and the team. Spoelstra is all about the team. Greg Popovich with the Spurs is all about the team. I don't think I've ever heard an interview with him more than just what he has to give post-game. It's all about the team. This finals will be fantastic to watch. And what I do expect to happen from these finals is that we will then have the answer to our question, which will be the summer of 2014. Will the Heat stay or will the Heat go? And with that, the show has unfortunately come to a very hasty end. Sports Talk with the Sports Rabbi, only on All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. We'd like to thank our callers. We'd like to thank those who chimed in, even though I wasn't able to get to every single comment. But that said, tune in next week for an awesome show. Stay thirsty, stay healthy, and always pay attention to what's going on around you. Sports Talk with the Sports Rabbi, only on All Noise Radio.